Imagine you are throwing a party. Everyone is enjoying, but suddenly a guest asks for a pizza because they are starving. So, what do? You pick up the phone, call the delivery service, and place an order. They take their time to prepare the pizza and then delivers it. After watching one person eating the pizza, another guest also wants pizza. So you repeat the process. Call the delivery service, wait for them to bake and deliver again. Now this works for a small party. But what if your guest list is huge? Calling the pizza place every time is not only exhausting but also inefficient. Wouldn't it be smarter to order some large pizzas in advance and keep them ready? That way you can serve your guest instantly whenever they are hungry. Well friends, that's exactly how caching works in tech world. Instead of fetching the data from database every time, caching keeps the frequently requested data ready to serve in a fast access storage. In this video, we will explore how caching supercharges the applications and prevent the bottlenecks. From the basics of caching to real world examples of how tech giants like Amazon, Facebook, and Netflix leverage it, and even the challenges they face. So let's get started. You know what's cool? Caching isn't just in our applications, it's actually everywhere in our computers. Let me show you. Think about your computer's CPU, the brain of your computer. Even though your computer's random access memory is super fast, it is still not quick enough for the CPU. That's why CPU has its own mini storage areas called L1, L2, L3 and L4 cache. Just like how we kept those pizzas in the kitchen for quick access, the CPU keeps its most used instructions in these caches so it can grab them instantly. Let us just see the formal definition of caching. Caching is a technique used in computing to store copies of frequently accessed data in a temporary but high-speed storage known as cache. This allows subsequent requests for the same data to be served faster because in that case, data will be retrieved from the cache instead of recomputing or fetching it from the slower underlying source such as database or any remote service. Imagine we have a social media app like Facebook or Instagram with millions of users. In this app, users often request to view the profile details multiple times. Now, if we fetch this information from database every single time, it can take a lot of time, especially when millions of users are doing this concurrently. This will lead to high latency and slower response time, making the app feel sluggish. Frequent database hits or repeated computations can really slow things down. Every time your app makes a call to the database, it has to process that request, fetch the data, and send it back. Now, if this happens over and over again for the same data, it puts a lot of load on your database and backend servers. This not only increases the time it takes to respond, but also makes the whole system less efficient. Now, let us see a few real world examples where tech giants faced issues before caching was implemented. In its early stages, Facebook struggled with slow page load as its base user rapidly increased. Each time a user loaded their newsfeed or profile, the system used to fetch data directly from the database. That led to high latency. To fix the issue, they used an open source version of Memcached to build a distributed key value store. This significantly reduced the load on their database and improved the response time. Not only Facebook, but Amazon also faced a challenge with high traffic during sale events like Black Friday. Every product view or recommendation required a database query, which was causing delays. By caching frequently accessed product details and user sessions, Amazon improved the page load times and enhanced the user experience. Now, there are endless stories like Twitter, Netflix, and many more. But the main point is how implementing caching transforms these systems, making them faster, more scalable, and capable of handling millions of requests efficiently. Caching is not just an optimization, it's a necessity for modern high traffic applications. Let us see how browsers use caching and improve the user experience. Imagine a world without browser caching. When you visit a website, your browser would download all the resources like images, style sheets, scripts, and other files from the server. And let us say nothing has changed on the server and you visited the same website again. Your browser will again download all those resources. That will result in very slow load time and increased network bandwidth usage. Not only that, it will put extra load on the server. And this has a huge impact on frequently accessed applications. Now here is where web browser caching steps in. When you visit a website, your browser stores copies of certain resources locally on your device. So that next time when you try to access the same website, instead of downloading everything again, the browser retrieves those resources from the local cache. For example, when you visit a site like YouTube, the logo, CSS files, and common JavaScript libraries are cached by your browser. So the next time you visit, your browser doesn't need to fetch these resources again. It uses the cached versions. That's great, right? But what if something has changed on the server? How will the browser come to know when to serve the cached copy and when to fetch the resource from server? That configuration can be done at the server level. So when a server responds to a request, it can include caching instructions in HTTP headers. It can use cache-control that can be used to define whether a resource can be cached, how long it should be cached, and whether it requires revalidation with the server or not. We can also use etag. It acts like a versioning tag for a resource. Before serving the cached version, the browser checks with the server if the resource has been changed. If not, then it serves the cached version. We can also use expires. There we can specify the date and time when the cached resource becomes stale. There are different types of caching that can be implemented at various levels in our system. For example, we just discussed browser cache, which falls under client-side caching. Here, static resources like images, JavaScript, and CSS files are stored locally in the browser. That allows faster page loads and reduce server requests for repeated visits. Similarly, caching can also be implemented at the backend service level using in-memory tools like Redis or Memcached. This is known as application level caching. Frequently accessed data such as user session details, API responses, or pre-computed query results can be stored in memory. It can significantly reduce the number of database queries and improve the response time. Another critical type of caching is content delivery network caching. A CDN is a network of servers distributed globally that cache static resources closer to the end user. So when a user requests a resource like a video or an image or a large static file, the CDN serves it from the nearest edge server instead of its origin server. This reduces the latency, improves page load speed, and your primary servers are not overloaded. For example, platforms like Cloudflare or AWS CloudFront are widely used for CDN caching. Now remember one line I have been repeating in every video, there is no perfect solution. So caching is great but not without challenges. Let us see what challenges are there in caching. To explain these caching challenges, we will be using Amazon's shopping platform as an example. Think of caching like a temporary snapshot of data that helps the Amazon run faster. So what Amazon does is it stores the most frequently requested resources in the cache, so that when a user requests those resources, then Amazon services should not fetch the details from main database. Rather, it will be served from the cache that makes it easy, efficient, and quick. But what about data consistency? Let us say you are shopping for a popular gaming console on Amazon. The main database shows 100 units in stock. To make the website faster, Amazon caches these information across different servers. Now, when other customers starts buying the console, we have a challenge. Over a period of time when different customers bought consoles from different servers, that results in a mismatch in available stock in their cache. Server A's cache might show you 100 units, server B's cache might show you 95 units, and the actual database might have only 90 units. This inconsistency between the cache and the source of truth, which is database, is known as data consistency problem. Another aspect which is closely related to data consistency is staleness. Think about Amazon's dynamic pricing system. The price of a laptop might change based on a demand or some special promotional offers. Let us say the original price is $999 and the price drops to $899 due to some special promotion. But your browser is still showing $999 because that was the cached price. This issue is known as cache staleness. If you have items in your cart and one of the item goes on sale, your cart total needs to reflect that particular change. If it doesn't due to stale cache data, you might make a purchase based on incorrect information. This is why Amazon often recalculates your cart total at specific points, like when you view the cart again or when you proceed to the checkout. All those calculations will be done again to identify the latest prices so that any stale data can be removed. Now, one more important issue is there. Now we know cache is a storage which can be accessed quickly, just like we have random access memory, which is faster than the disk storage. But there is always a limit to faster data store. You cannot have unlimited fast storage, and you cannot store everything in cache. So the most important decision to make is which data should be kept in cache and which data should be removed or updated in cache and when. This particular problem involves cache invalidation. Amazon faces this challenge at a massive scale. Let us understand how. Suppose you are viewing a product with various details such as its price, stock availability, customer reviews, or any promotional offers. So when something changes, let's say a new review is posted, Amazon needs to decide should they invalidate the entire product page cache or should they only invalidate the reviews section cache, or maybe they wait for the cache to expire automatically. I'm going to repeat that one line once again. There is no perfect solution. Each of these choices that Amazon has to make has their own trade-offs. For example, invalidating the entire cache impacts the performance because it has to update every data point for that product in cache. But if we invalidate a small section like reviews in this case, then there is a risk of showing outdated information. This problem becomes even more complicated when you consider that this data might be cached at so many levels like in your browser or Amazon Edge servers and many more layers. Now, to handle these challenges, Amazon may employ strategies like they can have a different cache expiration time for different type of data. For example, the price cache might expire quickly because that is more critical, and the product descriptions might cache longer because they are not as critical as the product prices. Another strategy they can implement is cache versioning system that can allow them the gradual updates. So that was it in this video. In the next video, we are going to cover different strategies for implementing cache in your application and everything you need to know about caching. We will also see how major tech players are using cache to enhance their application performance. So stay tuned, and in case you have learned something new today, don't forget to like the video, also subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, keep learning.